We are all ad guys in one form or another. TV, digital, some do sales, some do strategy, but we all would work in what you would call a marketing discipline. So brands mean a lot to us. We talk a lot about them. I remember being in Eric's office at the station. He had everything from Mad Men to the most iconic Volkswagen ads of all time. You can see some of them over his left and right shoulder. It's almost like a mini museum to marketing. You should charge people $2 and give tours. There's some cool
Come
shit
on
in there.
down, guys.
But brands mean a lot to us, and I think they mean a lot to everyone because when I say words like iconic brands, they don't just mean colors on a sheet or typography. They elicit a visceral response. If I say Nike to Noah, who's a sneakerhead, or Apple to Eric, who loves the tech, or Mercedes Benz to me, who's a car guy, McDonald's, Starbucks, Coca Cola, Amazon, you name it, it always means a lot to people because the brands that we rely on and come to love play a prominent role in our lives. So, got us talking, and we said, of your Cleveland sports franchises, which team has the best brand? Now, I let Eric and Noah start each of the last two, so I'll start this one. You know where I go when I can't do my accountant brain because this is a touchy feely question and not a quantitative question. I start defining shit. So I looked up brand. It's a type of a product manufactured by a company under a name, or it's the thing you do on the ass to livestock with a hot iron to make sure everybody knows it's yours. Uh, but it takes on
Oh
a
man, all
higher
my Cal
filter.
takes are ruined now. I thought we were doing.
It takes on
Where's
a
your
bigger meaning now.
Undertuggers hat at, Eric?
I know it's pre-order right now.
That's funny.
But yeah, it's a product, service, or concept that's publicly distinguished from other products, services, and concepts, so it can be easily communicated, usually through marketing. Branding is the process of creating and disseminating a name. Its qualities, its personality, elicits a feeling. It has a personal relationship with the consumer, and typically, the stronger the brand, the stronger the recognition. So that's a really long tee up for me to say. For me, it's the Browns because no matter how hapless they are, you don't have
John,
fans over the years like Condoleezza Rice, Elvis Presley, Drew Carey, Hank Aaron, Muhammad Ali, MGK, Stipe Miocic, on and on and on, with the
John,
Browns
just real
backers
quick.
worldwide. I went to a bar in Rome when I was studying abroad in Italy, and there
John,
were
just
eight.
real quick.
What?
I wanted to show the Cleveland Browns brand for you, and you
Oh,
kept
thank you.
going.
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. Uh, That's it. I went to a bar in Rome. It was by the Spanish Steps. The Browns were showing a rerun, and the Indians game was on when I was 19. You're not going to find that for the Cleveland Monsters or Lake Erie Monsters or Cleveland Lumberjacks. So for me, it is the Cleveland Browns.
Well,
Hmm.
am I good to talk now? Are you quiet enough for me to have some airspace to breathe and talk and show some graphics for you, my friend?
Yeah, get me fired up again. Maybe not, but for now, we're good.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Anyway, I'm just messing with you, buddy.
Spicy.
My take on this is a hot take. To some, not to me, because I have very much always and have been in support of the new name. I think the best brand, if we're talking logos, we're talking ties to the city, we're talking connections to the past and what was the prior name. It is the Cleveland Guardians, and it is the Cleveland Guardians because the Guardians Bridge, because of its ties to the city, because they had to change the name for obvious reasons, and they moved to a brand that still feels similar to what it was in the past, but has an even better connection to the city. And all in all, I just like it. And maybe
Can
I'm
I
biased
just
because I have a Cleveland Guardian tattooed on me, but that's
can
just
I
me.
ask a point of clarification?
Yeah,
You chose the best brand after a bridge.
yeah.
Okay, I'm just
When
checking.
people still walk up to us on the street and go, "They'll never be the Guardians to me. They'll always be the Indians." I'm not saying those people are right, but that's the sentiment amongst to each his
Right.
own.
I'm standing against that thought process and saying that the Guardians is the best brand because it has good ties to the city. Yes, it's from a bridge. The bridge is dope. If you ever drove on it, it's a cool bridge.
It's
And
a cool
I'm
bridge. Like the Brooklyn Bridge is cool, but
yeah, we know you want to live in Manhattan, Eric, but that's besides the point. I just like the brand. I think it ties together the past, present, and future of the baseball team that resides in Cleveland and will always reside in Cleveland. And that's kind of my take on it.
They got great colors.
All right, I went a little bit different of a direction, and I actually thought John would be a little more, I don't know, a little more put together because I kind of did it like he would do. No offense, John. That wasn't calling you out or anything, but I broke it down a little more succinctly. First of all, if we're talking straight brand equity, then yeah, it's the Browns hands down. They're on the minds of Clevelanders pretty much 24/7, even when it's not football season.
Yep.
And I don't think that that lends itself to being the best brand because it's a football town, it's a football state. They just had the positioning. It kind of worked out well for them. But I broke it down into more of that because, in a broad sense, a brand is kind of brand identity, brand promise, and brand voice, among others. But I focused on those three. You guys know I'm a brand guy, so I love this kind of thing anyway. Brand identity is where I focus most because it's the parts that you actually can see and hear, the personality, if you will, of a brand. And for me, it's a toss up between the Guardians and the Cavs here. The Browns are terrible in this aspect. Orange is not a great color. They don't really have a logo. I love Brownie the Elf, but what the hell is Brownie the Elf and what's it have to do with the Browns?
Let me pull that up for
obviously,
you real quick.
Historic and the random dog now that I doesn't even seem to match the dog that we have on the field, the real life one. It's not a very good brand from brand identity standpoint. I get it. When you're a team named after a former owner, manager, it's kind of hard to do something sexy with it. And they've gotten to a point where, yeah, the orange plain helmet isn't great, but if you were to throw a logo on it, it just looks completely wrong too. The Guardians and the Cavs, on the other hand, their visual identity has been so good over the years. The Cavs have pivoted quite a bit. They've run different color schemes, and it almost always looks amazing. Shout out to the 90s throwbacks of that blue. Guardians, same thing. Guardians/Indians. John mentioned that they have some of the best colors. You can't really go wrong with blue and red as your team's colors. But for me, they win in the brand identity. So then what about brand promise and brand voice? Brand promise is the value or experience that customers can expect from a brand. And I would say that for the Cleveland Browns, it's misery.
It's really bad. Yeah.
It is
Factory of sadness, man.
It is not a good promise. Credit where credit's due. When the Haslams came in, one of D. Haslam's projects was to revamp the experience from the moment you step foot into whatever the stadium's called these days, Huntington Bank Field. And she's done a good job of that. Concessions have improved. The monolithic Soviet-looking hallways have become better with posters, etc. She's done a good job there. But let's be honest. What fans expect from the Browns is losses. It's dysfunction. It's hiring guys that have no right to be on a football field. Cough Deshaun, cough Watson. So clearly the Browns don't win on brand promise. I'd say the Cavs probably have the slight edge here over the Guardians, both in terms of the product that they put on the court and also the product that they put on the shelves. It's just been very, very good since LeBron came. It wasn't that great before LeBron came, but since LeBron and even after him leaving, they've done a very good job with that and the presentation of what they give you. And then finally, brand voice. I could break this down a million other ways and keep going forever. But finally, brand voice. That's the tone and language that a brand communicates to its audience. Again, I would say the Guardians and the Cavs do a good job at this. They have fan events. They have great entertainment in-game, etc., etc., etc. And once again, what do we get with the Browns? I'll tell you what we get. Hold on. Tell me who I am. We just got to do better. I got to do better. Coaches go into this too.
You got a really good
pound for pound. The winner for me is a mix between the Guardians and the Cavs.
I'm going to show the Cavs graphic real quick just because we haven't pulled it up yet. Here's a image of the Cavs branding for our visual viewers at home.
Pretty sick.
So the reason I struggle with the Cavs and Guardians too is because they've changed significantly multiple times in the last few years. We went from the Chief to the Script Eye to the Indians to the Guardians. We got red jerseys. Now they've improved each time, but part of the brand to me was like consistency. Same thing with the Cavs. It's wine and gold. It's maroon and gold. It was black when we won the title with sleeves. Now we got a black jersey. Each iteration of that has been better. I think the Cavs jerseys look greater now than they have at any point since I've been a Cavs fan. But part of the brand is consistency. If Nike changed the swoosh every 4 years, it'd be like, okay, well, let's get it together.
But it's also adapt or die. I mean, yeah, the Indians had a racist caricature when it was cool to be racist. Well, society got better, thankfully, and it's not very well these days. I don't know, but it's not very cool to be a racist, so they moved on from it. I mean,
it's not a fight to defend the Chief. And Cavaliers aren't racist, and the Cavs have changed jerseys just as much. They just didn't change the name. But the only other teeny caveat I would throw in there, because I like the way you broke it down. You gave everybody the NBA version of what brand actually means, and it's tough to argue. Is you did say, well, the Browns are just a football team in a football city in a football state. I don't want to give them not enough credit because the Bengals are the same team in the same state that's all about football, and they don't have nearly the brand equity of the Cleveland Browns, and they perform better on a consistent basis over the last 20 years. But all of that said, your breakdown was really good. It's tough to argue. I mean, the Guardians and Cavs do a good job.
I think there's an honorable mention here that we're all forgetting because they have had a consistent branding over the last 20 years. Their jerseys, their logos, their identity has always been top tier, in my opinion. Give some damn respect to the Cleveland Monsters. The logo's cool. The jerseys are cool. Give them some respect. I know they're not
honestly,
an NHL team.
You're not wrong. It is sick. I wish we could brand Lake Erie as like Loch Ness Monster, like our new kind of thing, like Scotland does. That'd be kind of cool. I didn't even think about them just because they're not a professional sports team. Same reason I left the Buckeyes out.
They are a professional sports team.
When you compare the
Gymnastics for a second, they are a professional sports team. I got to pull a John, but I get what you're saying. They're not a major professional sports team.
I would actually say I think the Monsters branding is designed to pull in non-hockey fans into stuff because they're trying to get people who would normally go to the Charge game or maybe a Cavs game to check out the Monsters too. Those jerseys look awesome. Color scheme, the little gold, they do a good job with branding. If you compare them to the iconic hockey brands, nobody's going to look at the Cleveland Monsters jersey and go, that's better than the Red Wings and Maple Leafs. Like, it's good, but it's, they will
Jeff
with
has
the
a
Guardians.
good point. Yeah. What team would mean more to get the next championship? The only thing I would say to that, Jeff, obviously it's the Browns, but worth and brand are two different things.
That's fair too. I wanna give a dishonorable mention since we've mentioned 4 out of the 5 teams that are predominantly here in Cleveland. Yes, I know there's some semi-pro teams or whatever that I'd probably have never even heard of. Shout out the Cleveland Guardians roller derby team or whatever the hell was going on with that.
Oh, yeah.
Back when they changed the name. Dishonorable mention to the Cleveland Charge. I like the Charge name. It fits, I think, a little bit, but what the hell is a posse? The uniforms aren't great. The logo doesn't really do it for me. I'm not trying to be critical. What? Go ahead.
I was courtside last weekend, and they had the Deadpool thing, and it was gross.
That was atrocious. I was asking if you had a screen, and I was hoping you had the Deadpool on there because that was terrible.
I didn't put a Charge one together because I just thought of that one on the fly, not before the show. But if anybody wants to go see the epitome of minor league sports jersey, go check out the Deadpool Marvel Cleveland Charge jersey. No disrespect to that team or that franchise, though, because the venue they play in is sick. You get to see a lot of these young Cavaliers chop it up on the hardwood a little bit. Sometimes you might get lucky and be like John and sit next to Donovan Mitchell.
From a beginning to end experience for fans, the Charge is hard to beat. It has the intimacy of like high school basketball where you could kind of walk right up to the floor basically. Like Noah said, it's in a venue that's absolutely gorgeous where the Beatles played. Um, and it's cheap. It's cheap as hell. You can go for like $20 and that includes a beer. I mean, I don't know what tickets actually are because we went for free, but
they're cheap.
I don't think they're expensive.
Shout out the Cavs employee ticket discount because I always am going to Charge games because it is a great time. But if we're talking about 1 through 5 branding in terms of all the major sports teams in Cleveland, they're number 5 in my opinion. Probably,
Oh, for
right?
sure. And one more side note about the Charge. For any parents out there listening, control your damn kids. They don't need to be in the second balcony, like playing on the steps the whole time, about to like tumble off. That was annoying, but otherwise, really good time.
Yeah, it was.
It's natural selection. I got 4 kids. Kids who fall off balconies at the Charge game don't get to grow up to have more kids who fall off the balcony at the Charge game. It's Darwinism,
John
baby.
comes,
Let him
John
go.
comes to a show. I had 4 kids. Now I have 3. Natural selection. I don't know what to tell you.
That's insane.